And there you have it. Inter go top of the Serie A. Heading into the international break, you can see they sit top, level on points with Gasparini's Roma. Now, of course, it doesn't just come down to how many points you pick up, how many goals you score, and how many goals you concede. And Inter, you could see they've got a plus 17, a positive 17. That tells you one thing and one thing only. Like, especially looking back on like the first quarter of the season, it tells you Inter, when they win, they don't win by a small deficit. They win by a big margin. And listen, goals win you games. Goals give you confidence. Goals breed strikers' confidence. If you're scoring X amount of goals, it means you're creating X amount of opportunities. And if you don't create, you never ever stand a chance of scoring. And if you don't score, you never stand a chance of winning. But I really want to just speak about Inter's home record under Kivu so far in like the first quarter of the season. Like you could see at the moment, they've played 6 games at home at the San Siro. And they've won 5. They've lost 1, the unforgettable defeat to Udinese on the second game week. They've scored 17 and they've conceded 4 goals. This is their home record so far under Kivu. And I think it highlights one thing, like I said earlier, the fact that you can score X amount of goals, it means you know how to break down teams. Like, let's be honest, when Inter come up against teams, I feel like the majority of teams will just sit back against them and just put a row of 5 with a row of 3 and they'll be condensed, they'll be aggressive. The fact that you can still carve opportunities and score them, it's a very, very, very good look. But I think the fact that they scored 17, it's like it indicates on average they score themselves 3 goals every time they play at the San Siro. Do you know how ridiculous that is? Like to turn around and say, listen, every time we play at home, we are putting the ball into the back of the net 3 times. There's some teams in the Serie A, as of now, in their past 3 games, they haven't scored 3 goals. So it says a lot about the team, the chemistry, the brand of football that Kivu is deploying. So the fact that they've scored 17 in just 6 games at home is very impressive. And listen, sometimes to go on and mount a title challenge, you need one of those sides on your favor, whether it's your home record, away record. I think at the moment, them being ranked number 1 for the home record in the Serie A is very, very, very good. And it's probably one of the main reasons why they're sitting top of the league. Now, when it comes to the game against Lazio, I feel like on paper, I thought Lazio might put up like a more stern test, but they didn't. Like, Lazio really, really, really don't look good. Like, yeah, in some moments, they might show some Sarri ball, but I'll be real. Like, Sarri ball in moments is not efficient. It's not effective enough. It's not really the most troubling. When you look at the game, like, I feel like Inter went 1-0 up, Lautaro Martinez. It comes from the high press, which is something that I've highlighted, like, ever since the Serie A season started. Like, I think their high press is so good. But funnily enough, where I liked today's press is the fact that Bastoni took the Lazio player into an area where he doesn't want to go. Like, if any of you guys have followed me for a long time, I always tell you guys, in possession, out of possession, you can still find a way to manipulate the opposition. Now, what do I mean by manipulate? Take them into areas they don't want to go to. Force them to pass the ball into areas they don't want to pass into. Force them into mistakes. And I feel like when you see Bastoni like just hunting down the Lazio player down the left hand side, forcing him into mistake, retrieving the ball. Now don't get me wrong, he didn't win it in a goal scoring area, but he gave it to Lautaro Martinez and he scored. Like, it's a wonder strike. Like, it's very similar to the goal that he scored against Bayern Munich last season in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. It's a goal out of nothing, but listen, it's all about regaining possession in a dangerous area where you can punish the opposition. And I kid you guys not, I watch a lot of football for my own liking. And I can definitely promise you guys, when it comes to forcing the opposition into errors, but here's the best part. Forcing the opposition into errors is 50% of the job. Now, 50% doesn't get the job done. It doesn't complete the job. You don't achieve your objective. 50% is regaining the ball. The other 50% is putting the ball into the back of the net. Nobody cares how. Put the ball into the back of the net. I think when it comes to the Serie A, Inter are the best team at that. In terms of regaining possession and then punishing the opposition. I think Como are very good at like putting pressure on the opposition and regaining the ball. But I don't think Como are the most efficient, let alone effective. I think Roma under Gasparini are very good at forcing the opposition into trouble. But then once again, when they regain the ball, they're not the most penetrative. They're not the most decisive. Inter, for me, like just from the top of my head, I could probably think of 5 goals this season where they forced the opposition into mistakes and they've gone on to score. And you know what's crazy? Those goals don't really require much from you. Like, it doesn't require you tiki-taka to string 50, 60 passes to put an amazing cross into the box. Hell no, just win the ball high up the field and all you got to do is make one pass. Thank you very much. So I feel like that's where Inter have looked so dominant this season. Now, looking at the second goal, it was a lovely goal. You know what it is? It's a shame that I'm only really mentioning his name on the 5th minute. Who was your man of the match? Who was your man of the match? I think for me, I don't think he's had an amazing season. I'm gonna be real, like really honest. I think he's played a lot of minutes this season. He's been a staple in this team. But for me, I haven't really been impressed by this player. And he is a player that I really, really, really like. And it is Barella. I don't think Barella's had the best of seasons. Like, he's had good moments, but Barella is a world-class player, in my opinion. Like, he's a world-class midfielder. World-class midfielders will always have good moments, but what differentiates like the top from the mediocre to the bang average to the below par is the world-class players tend to be consistent in what they do. For me, Barella hasn't really been that consistent this season. I don't really know what it is. Like, maybe he's just adapting to Kivu because it's a massive change to somebody like Inzaghi in terms of the way they play the game. But I think Barella, this was like his best performance of the season. I really think so. I think he was so aggressive on the ball. I think he was so aggressive off the ball. He was aggressive on the ball. He was carrying the ball. He was stringing passes left and right. He had a few opportunities in the final third where maybe if he didn't take an extra touch, he could have forced himself an angle to shoot. But I feel like Barella today, he was involved, but in such a penetrative way, like carrying, spraying passes, making progressive passes, running the whole length of the field to get into the final third. When you look at the second goal, Barella picks it up on Inter's right-hand side, darts inwards, spreads it into Lautaro Martinez. Martinez waits for the overlap. Overlap comes from somebody like DiMarco. And then DiMarco's having a very good season, but I feel like I've spoken about him so many times this season. First time, low and hard into Bony. And you know what it is? Like, I saw Marcus Thuram come onto the field right towards the end of the game, and I was sat telling myself, like, because the turnaround when it comes to, like, the international break, it's only been 1 month, like, ever since the last international break. I was like, listen, it's only been a month. Now, how many games have Inter really played? Let's just say about 5, maybe 5, 6 in the Serie A. Let's say 5. 3, I believe, in the Champions League. We're talking about 8 games. 8 games, they haven't had Marcus Thuram. Like, I could safely say Marcus Thuram has been unavailable ever since the last international break, okay? 8 games. Now, from the top of my head, I think Inter have only lost 1. From the top of my head, I may be wrong. I think they've only lost 1 out of those 8, and it was against Napoli. But I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, like, Kivu's found a way to make it work without, like, arguably one of the best players in the team, maybe even his best striker. But he's found a way to make it work by just chopping and changing Esposito and Bony. And whenever those two come into the frame, I feel like they have an impact. Now, fair enough, like, Bony is, you could see, the more complete package where he has an impact in terms of his overall game, but he also has an impact in terms of putting the ball into the back of the net. Esposito is more, I'm going to have an impact in terms of the way I play the game, but I'm not really having an impact in terms of putting the ball into the back of the net because I feel like he's missed a lot of opportunities, Esposito, so far this season. But with him, I give him time. Like, he's still young. He's still learning his game. I feel like the fact that he's even getting into those dangerous areas and he's still having an impact on the game in other ways outside of goals, it tells me that once he learns how to put the ball into the back of the net on a consistent of basis, you're looking at a complete striker, like somebody that could genuinely revolutionize that striker role in a very positive way. So, hence, like, I don't really criticize him that much when he misses. But I'm just looking at it and thinking, like, Inter have had some relatively tough games. Like, they've had some relatively tough games in the Serie A during the last international break. They're now 4 out of 4 in the Champions League. And they've done all of this without, in my opinion, their best attacker. Like, for me, Marcus Thuram is their best striker. Without Marcus Thuram, it's impressive. Like, you could seriously see retaining and keeping somebody like Esposito rather than sending him out on loan is paying dividends. Bony for what, 25, 29 million from Parma, it's really paying dividends. And you could see those two in the past month have been the game changers. They have been the breath of fresh air. They've brought something different to Inter. And I feel like that's what's made Inter, like, for me this year, one, enjoyable. To be fair, I always, in my opinion, said Inzaghi was a coach. I liked his brand of football. But I feel like this year, it's like the heavy metal brand of football. And you could see it's benefiting everybody, no matter who starts, no matter who comes off the bench. And I really think in the second half of the season, after this international break, it will pick up for Inter because you have to bear in mind now, we're talking big games in the Champions League. Like they've got rid of the first 4 easy games. Big games in the Champions League. I think after this international break, we're talking 3, 4, 5 months off football non-stop. listen, by the time the next international break comes, you could seriously make a case which team is competing for a Scudetto and which team is competing just for top four and which team's Champions League campaign has come to an end. And I feel like the fact that Thuram is now back, the fact that Barella is now picking up some form and confidence. Hakan Çalhanoğlu, I think he's been great in this past month. Bony and Esposito have shown we are more than happy to be the backups. And as backups, we will put in solid performances. I think Akanji's been good. Bastoni for me is being like 50-50. Like, you know what it is? I feel like Bastoni has set the bar so high that when he does have mediocre performances, which are still impressive, everybody looks at him and says, like, you're not as good as you once were. But listen, there's a reason why he set the bar so high, because he's a talented player. I think with Inter after the international break, you're going to see a different side to them. And I'm mostly like, most intrigued to see how Kivu goes about it, because we're talking big games, tough opposition. Like, it's getting to that juicy part of the season, if you know what I mean. So, Inter have just beaten Lazio 2-0. It was smooth sailing. They got top of the Serie A. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you guys on another one.